Good afternoon, and again, thanks for being here. Just like Steve said, we'll hit a little bit about the bowl preparation, the Music City Bowl preparation, and comments about recruiting. Then Tyler can give you all the details. Scott, they do an awful lot of work, everybody does, but let him kind of cover some of the fine points there. Just first of all, just about the bowl game, it's always interesting with bowl preparation. You go through a series of phases, early before you even know who you're playing or where you're playing. You start practice a little bit to keep the guys fresh, and obviously we've gone through some phases now. So I gave the guys a couple of days off. They're back in this afternoon, and certainly we're eager to get going here as we look towards Kentucky. First thing, is roster. Postseason, we had some movement, and I think that's just kind of standard operating procedure right now in college football, and that movement sometimes goes through December and even later. So, but I think right now as we move into this next phase, I think we're firm with our roster, feel good about the guys, and give us a chance to start focus on our preparation and also work together as one team. And again, I think this is just going to become and continue to become a more fluid process as we move forward in the years ahead. But the good news is the guys that have been training with us have been doing a great job, whether it's the strength conditioning work or the times we've been on the field. The energy has been really good, and I feel like we're making good progress, and benefits both the younger guys. Obviously gives them a real opportunity to get some quality work that they haven't done. And certainly the older guys, our real purpose is to try to keep them sharp, but also get them refreshed and recharged and give them a chance to be ready to play as the bowl game appears. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We'll introduce Kentucky, start that work today. We haven't done a thing on them yet with the players. So we'll begin that. And it's been a little bit of a different phase, if you will. Last year and last several recruiting years when our guys have been in finals, the staff's been off the road, gave us a real chance to, get our preparation jumped up and moved on. This year was a little different with the calendar. I don't know if the recruiting calendar was longer or just the way it fell, but we were on the road last week. So it's been a busy couple days for everybody just trying to get ready on Kentucky. But the bottom line is, we'll get some guys out there, start practicing, and start to turn our sights towards there. And it's, again, as I mentioned, good for the old guys, good for the new guys. Think about certainly Joe and Carson. They've been doing a good job. They need each and every snap they can get and try to bring them up to speed. So that's kind of where we're at right now. The good news, I just think, you've got a bunch of guys that love football. They respect the opportunity in front of them, and respect what it takes to beat an opponent like Kentucky, and they work hard. So that part's all good. And just, not to get in great detail about Kentucky, but, good football team, excellent program. Mark Stoops set a record this year for career wins, I believe, and it's just a real testament to him and the work he's done, his staff's done. They've got a really good coaching staff. They're well coached. Big athletic football team like we saw last year, and, we got a big challenge in our hands. So, look forward to that and just kind of turn the page now. And then, today is signing day, and, needless to say, this has changed a little bit too. Going back from when we just had it in February. That's not totally new, but recruiting just continues to be almost a day-to-day process, if you will. And it's really ongoing. And with that, certainly the challenges that come with that are a little bit different. Trying to, coach your players, also recruit and do a good job of that. But, as you might imagine, it takes a lot of effort by a lot of people, and start out just by thanking our coaching staff and obviously the recruiting staff for the work that they do. It's really extensive. It is nonstop. It takes a lot of hard work, not only time, but hard work. So, that's where it all starts. And then, obviously when players come on campus, prospects come on campus with their families, there are a lot of other people involved, our support staff, people on campus, faculty members, all kinds of people. And just, generally the community and the state, the feeling people walk away from, I think, is really, really important for us, and it's a great advantage. So try to expose them to as many people as we can, and just appreciate everybody helping out in that regard. Just in general, really pleased with the 23 class. Every player involved in this class, I think, has a good appreciation for and understanding of our program, our history, the traditions here, and really, really happy about that. I think two things that probably are attractive to them are the stability of the program over the time, and certainly unique, and then obviously the opportunity, and mostly the opportunity to grow and develop in the program. That's what we ask our players on our team to do and focus on. Same thing with our recruits. That's what we're looking for, guys that are really hungry to do that. Needless to say, in recruiting, you're looking at athletic ability, measurables, things like that. Certainly skill levels are important, but I think, beyond that, it's the kind of person, the character that we get exposed to. And that's it goes beyond the player. A lot of times you learn about the player's family, people that have been influential in their lives, impact that they've had. And I think that tells you a lot about the entire picture. And just, again, feel really good about the guys that we have. College football is changing, alluded to that. The portal is out there. It's growing and will continue to grow, I think, as long as the rules stay as they are. And, we're not blind to that or against that. But I do want to just say our goal is to grow our own team, to have the core of our team be guys that we recruited to the program and have them in the program so they can develop to the maximum. But, if we have opportunities, as I think I said in the past, you look at guys like Hawkeye Sargent, look at guys, Zach Van Valkenburger, Jack Heflin, that joined our program and had real positive impacts. Those are the kind of things that we're looking for. And if we get those opportunities, certainly we're going to pursue them and follow them. But again, I think, the core of our team hopefully will be built on campus here. And with that comes, a chance to watch guys develop and develop relationships that go beyond. So that's really what we're looking for. And the bottom line, our goal is to, provide a real true team experience for all the players in our program, whether they join us for 1 year or they're here for 4 or 5, that doesn't change. And to do it with the values that we think are really important. So I think we've communicated that well with the prospects, and just, again, really happy with the class. Again, different than years past where, a lot of prospects were committed back in June or even earlier. And then, then you move forward and think about things as recently as this weekend, a guy like Terrell Washington coming up, basically for not quite a 24-hour visit. Got in real late Saturday night, Sunday morning, and left here Monday morning, via a car. We weren't allowed to have any contact with him. So, all kinds of twists and turns, stories there, and, Tyler can fill you in on some of those. But again, just really pleased and appreciative about this class. I'll throw it out for questions and go from there.
On the topic of the transfer portal, you bring in Cade McNamara. I know you can announce the signing. You can talk about him now. What attracted you about bringing him in? What is his timetable for recovery? What can you tell us about your plans for Cade McNamara?
Sure. Obviously, he had a medical situation, and that's something we wanted to check thoroughly. And but it was really kind of an easy decision just because of we got firsthand exposure to him. Saw him prior to that, just going through the season's film, but we got firsthand exposure to him a year ago, December, and had great respect for him and the entire team coming into that game for obvious reasons, and left the field feeling even, those are more verified, if you will, those thoughts and suspicions. And, I'm not a quarterback expert but just watching what he did a year ago just struck me as a winner, and that's really what you're looking for at that position, a leader and a winner, someone who's going to move the football team. He did a great job of that at his previous school. And, whatever the details would have been this year and how things fell, to me, it really didn't matter. But, it was a real opportunity for us, I think, to maybe, attract a guy who, saw an opportunity and is excited about it.
Health-wise, will he be back in the spring as far as you know? Or
yeah, we'll see how it goes once he gets here, but we're very confident he'll be fine. And, that I don't think is uncommon. And it's something you factor in, but you talk about a guy who's been on a Big Ten field and had very, high level of success. It's not quite as big a factor as how much repetition you get. Obviously, he's got to get transition, but confident that's going to be okay.
What about Eric Hall and the combination there? How do you think he fits with the 2 tight ends set now? You had pretty good success with that about 4 or 5 years ago. Does he kind of add to that?
Yeah, it's kind of not the same discussion, but somewhere in that, we got to see him firsthand too. And several games prior to our game really caught my attention there. So it's just, sometimes you just notice players. He was one of them. And so it just turned out that, he became interested and available, and he and Cade have a good relationship, I believe. So I don't think that hurt us, at least in our attempt to try to recruit him. And, we're losing a top-notch tight end in Sam Laporte, outstanding. And then you think about the way Luke Lachey is ascending, has ascended. And so we go from, I think, having 2 really good tight ends to hopefully the same situation. And, that's certainly a good thing for us.
Can you say anything about Eric's medical status? Is he ready to go?
I don't know if he's not ready today, but we're very confident he'll be fine. So again, not too worried about it.
Kirk, you guys, like every program, seems like people have opted in the transfer portal. I did notice that Dallas Craddock was still listed on the 2 deep despite being in the portal. Is he practicing? What's kind of his stats compared to maybe some of the other guys in the portal?
Yeah, he is practicing. He's in the 2 deep, and obviously we've got a little bit of a void back there, but can't say enough about Dallas. And this is one of the advantages of the portal too. It's not just, up and above and all that stuff, but I think he's got interest in going to a smaller program, smaller level program closer to home and finishing out his career there where he can really hopefully play a major role. But I think the story at Dallas really is, he's really done a great job, especially this last year. He's been running on scout team, running offensive, being a receiver against the defense, that type of thing. Anything to help the team. And I think you look at that kind of, just team behavior, if you will, team attitude. Can't say enough about him. He's really grown in the program. Certainly, we're wish him all the best in his next home, but glad he's going to be with us at least through this year.
Sam Laporta's back on the 2 deeps. He's ready for the bowl game then?
I think so. He's back on the field and seems to be doing great, and so happy about that certainly.
With the secondary, no Kayvon, how do you plan to? Sebastian Castor is the first team strong safety. He's also at cash. How do you plan to navigate that?
We'll determine it here the next week and a half here. But the guys that are still back there, they're going to be in the game, and whatever combination. One good thing, typically Phil works the safeties where they're free and strong. So we get some position flexibility there. Just figure out what the best combination is, and keep our best guys on the field hopefully. But all that being said, we're losing a team leader, a guy who's really experienced, and we'll just try to absorb that. But if he twisted his ankle, it'd be the same thing. We'd be dealing with the same issue.
Is there a chance Wampa could play strong safety?
Yeah, I think, again, it's not as big a deal, I don't think, who's in the game, but we're always going to have 2 safeties at a minimum in there. So, yeah, he's right in the thick of things. He's doing well.
Kirk, I know it's still a little bit early, but have you spoken with Nico Reganey about potentially returning next year? What are those kind of conversations like right now?
Yeah, we've had conversations with several of our guys, and I think they're all kind of weighing and measuring, and it's not the same as, but a little bit like, last year at this time, Riley Moss was trying to figure out, was he going to go to the NFL? So, yeah, those are decisions some of the older guys make, and with the COVID year, a couple of them have more options now, and we'll just, we're not pressuring them. We're not trying to encourage them to hurry, but I want to make sure they know they'd be more than welcome back. Love to have guys come back, but want it to be their idea, not ours.
I know this is the perfect opportunity to talk about the guys who are signing with your program, but there is one prominent player who chose not to be a part of it. What's kind of your thoughts now, a couple of days removed from when he decommitted and now signed with Alabama?
Yeah, it's recruiting, and I really haven't read anything or heard much, but one thing I think I've said before, you can't lose what you never had, and recruiting's not over until someone actually signs, and not only commits but actually signs. So, and the other part about that, prospects, people have the right to make up their mind right till that time. So respect that, and I'm sure if that prospect had his reasons for doing what he's done, we would love to. If we've offered somebody, we've done our research and homework. So it was nothing on our end. I mean, it wasn't like we didn't want him here, but. Yeah, that's up for a prospect to decide what's best for them, and that's really how the process should work. And I always tell recruits, we're never going to, hopefully never be presumptuous and act like we know what's better for them than what they know.
Bill Levis is listed number 1. Is that any indication that he has a big lead, a slight lead, or does that mean
Means he's
nothing?
number 1 and Carson's number 2, and your guess is as good as mine on number 3. Yeah.
How's it going out there with the quarterbacks?
Good. It's just. We've talked about before, it's really hard to work more than 2 quarterbacks during the course of a season. So that's where this is a really unusual situation. And, the person who suffered the most here is Spencer, just because, ended up being an injury that needed surgery. So that part's really hard. And it's hard for him to be out there watching with a sling on and all that. But he's doing a great job helping and really coaching Joe up. And those guys all get along great. And so that's where, each and every snap is really important for both those quarterbacks.
What is since December 5th been like for you with, you have to go out and recruit, you have bowl prep, you have a portal, and you're having to recruit your own roster in a lot of ways to stay at times. What is that like for a head coach?
Yeah, so I'm only smiling. It's crazy, but that's the nature of the job, first of all. Tyler can answer this. I don't know if that was an extra week of recruiting in December. He can give you the date. I mean, it's just like, we do what we're told to do, right? So if we got to recruit this week, then if we can recruit, then we're going to go out and do it, and you go where you're needed. But, don't worry about comp things. Just do them. It's kind of like, running sprints when you're playing or whatever. But yeah, it's the nature of what we do. And, I've said before, I've got some concerns about where college football is right now and where we're heading and who's directing it. But, I'll give you a quick aside. I'm smiling. We were going to a recruiting breakfast Saturday morning. I was on my way over and had the College Station on. And somebody, I'm not sure who he was or what his authority was or his expertise was basically just throwing out why would a guy play in a bowl game, a senior who might be a prospect? And, everybody's got a right to their own opinions, but there's a lot of reasons why a guy would play too as a senior. And Jack Campbell would probably be a guy to ask about that. So everybody's got a right to, think about what they think. And, but all that being said, to your point, yeah, our world's gotten a little crazier than it used to be.
Based on that, I'm assuming Kayvon's going to be the only one opting out, or
Well, we still got 7 games, 6-7 days till game time. But and I've seen that movie across the other places before. So you just never know. But I assume everybody that's here right now is ready to roll.
I don't know if you ever thought you'd be a Brock Purdy fan, but have you watched a little bit of the relationship between George Kittle and Brock and the 49ers right now?
Yeah, they played a week ago, Thursday night maybe. Is that possible? Of course, it couldn't have been because how would I have seen it? Because we don't have any of the, like NFL Network and all that stuff. But anyway, I thought I saw an interview with him saying, teasing him about records, that type of thing. But no, I think it's great. They're both really good football players, and it looks like they got it going pretty good.
How do you evaluate offensive line right now, and do you see the portal as a solution for that, or more so sticking towards traditional high school recruiting?
Yeah, I think they're growing, and I think they're improving. And, I referenced that a year ago as the season went on. So this has been a really good month for those guys. I think they're practicing well and, focused and showing growth and improvement. We're going to need that, to have, have a chance next week. So, yeah, really pleased with it. And they're on the field every day, and that helps too when guys are healthy and able to develop. As far as the portal goes, if we can find something that, again, we think would be of benefit, we'll keep an open mind for sure. But, really nothing to report right now.
You guys have always, just try to define your culture, find the right guys for the right fit. You guys have obviously attacked the transfer portal pretty aggressively this offseason. How difficult has it been for you guys just to vet guys who maybe fit your culture versus guys who are not, because everything's so accelerated right now?
I think part of it works itself out. Kind of like, high school recruiting too. It's kind of the same way. I think as it goes on, they figure out, boy, I can really identify with this program and the way they do things, or maybe not. And then, other factors can get involved too. But, it's just the way it is. And I think I've said this before, like, you think about, I mentioned the 3 guys, Hawkeye, Zach, and Jack. Those guys were really appreciative of the opportunity when they got here, and you hope everybody is. And I'd want a little bit more information when it's, Power 5 to Power 5. But sometimes there are compelling stories. And, I think that's certainly the case with Cade. There's only one quarterback, so he was looking for a place maybe where he could have good opportunity too. And so, if it matches and you really believe like this guy's coming for the right reasons, then why not? It's there's all kinds of examples. So, but yeah, we're gonna try to stay true to who we are and what we are, and hopefully that is attractive to some people.
When you look at the wide receivers, you have had 4 in the last year transfer out, play prominent roles. I know you're in the process of trying to acquire some more talent. Do you see a common denominator on maybe why they've transferred out? And is there something schematically or coaching-wise that can maybe prevent or keep those players in-house a little bit better?
I would just say in general terms, and I don't know if Quavon was one of the guys you're referencing, but sometimes distance is a factor, being away from home, et cetera. Sometimes, just their role on the team or in the offense, that type of thing. And, facts are, you got 11 guys out there, whether they're 3 wide, 4 wide, 2 wide, 1 wide. The ball can only go so many places, and, that is what it is. But I think there's opportunity for everybody. And if you're a good receiver, we've had a lot of good receivers play here, go through over the years. And we've had good running backs and, right on down the list. Sean Green's an easy one to cherry pick when he was here. We're going to get him the ball X amount of times. And you go back to, 1982, nobody had to tell anybody who Ronnie Harmon was. He quickly appeared to everybody. I'm talking about the public, not only the coaching staff, just like Bob Sanders in 2000. You talk about guys like, good players just have a tendency to get noticed. And, that I think that's a challenge for any player is to, earn it and get noticed. But it's not like we're intentionally not throwing to a player or a specific position. That's hardly the case. And, if you can get open, hopefully we'll get the ball there. It doesn't always go where it's supposed to, but you get the drift of that.
It's going back to really July of 21 when we got our first commit, Maddox Borcherding Johnson, all the way up to really just a couple days ago with Terrell Washington. As years pass, this has been 2-3 years in the making. Guys coming to camps, unofficial visits, official visits, game day visits. Our coach is spending countless hours on the road, developing a relationship with these guys. We're excited about the 23 guys we're bringing in. And one thing I will say, we're not done yet. This is really signing day part one, if you will. We've got some spots left. We've got a couple of spots we'll look high school wise, and then 3, 4, maybe 5. We'll see spots that we'll look in the portal. And one thing that's you guys cover recruiting, you're around football. Obviously the landscape is changing tremendously. High school recruiting is sped up. There's earlier offers, there's quicker commits. And the thing that's probably even more difficult with this transfer portal window now, the window's being opened up as the transfers move even faster. And kind of what Coach alluded to a little bit is we still want to try and do things the same way in terms of digging on guys, and we need to find out who they are, what they're about, why they're leaving. Some of these guys we recruited in high school, so at least we have a base, which certainly helps. Some guys we don't, so you got to act quick, and there's certain red flags that may turn us off on guys, and we'll move on. But there's going to be plenty of guys out there, and I think everybody's well aware of December 5th, just the pure number of guys that hit the portal and what happened there. I'm guessing there's probably going to be somewhat of a small rush again post bowl games too. Could be wrong on that front, but just kind of going back on history and how things played out, I think we'll see that take place. But really, just as Coach said, our goal is still going to remain the same. We're not going to live in the portal. We're going to build our team through the high school ranks. I was watching the 247 signing day show all day today in my office, and they kept calling it the draft. This still is our draft, and for us to be sustainable, at least we believe to be sustainable, you still have got to be able to recruit high school kids and develop those guys, and whether they turn out to be first-round draft picks or just pure depth guys, at the end of the day, that's going to be important to sustain where you're at. But certainly if we have holes, we'll address that in the portal, and I think you've kind of seen that this year, and we're actively going to keep going that route. And similar to years before as well, I think you've seen we've got a pretty strong regional bias in our class. 17 of the 23 guys are within a 7-hour driving radius. And I think now more than ever with the transfer portal, that's extremely important. It's just it's getting easier and easier for guys to hop out and go back closer to home or go somewhere else that may not be regionally from where they're at. But for us, we're going to continue to try and wrap up the state of Iowa as much as we can, and then the bordering states, we're going to treat that almost like in-state as well, and then kind of stay in our hot spots. I think you've seen we've got a couple guys from Florida this year, having Liddell on staff and Abdul coming from down there. I think we're going to work to have a little bit bigger presence down in the state of Florida, pull the running back out of Texas. So we're always going to be open, but again, our core is going to be that 6-7 hour driving radius. But with that, I'll kind of open it up to any questions that you guys may have about the class or anybody in general.
With this being signing day part one, is there kind of a magic number that you have in mind of how many more you would like?
If you could tell us how our roster is going to look in 2 weeks, I'd happily give you that hard number. No, it's pretty fluid. I think in this day and age, it's extremely fluid. And like Coach said, what's unique is this is, I think, the first year I personally really felt it. Not only are we recruiting high school kids, we're attacking the portal pretty hard, but we're recruiting our own roster really hard too. And that's certain guys just to stay and not go to the portal. That's certain guys that maybe have a COVID year that they could use to come back. So there are some ongoing conversations with a few guys on the team about potentially returning. So that's obviously going to affect our overall number. But it's pretty fluid for the most part. We know there's a couple of holes that we need to fill right now on our team, and we'll work in the portal to do that. And we'll get there. And I've seen, as I was telling Chad and Scott beforehand, there's this misnomer, and what's a little bit scary about the transfer portal is, there's a lot of schools that announced transfers today. We did too with Eric and Cade, but they are free agents until they start class on campus. So even though schools announce guys today, and there are some guys that were announced at certain schools today, doesn't mean we're going to stop recruiting them, right? So that's just kind of, it's scary for us. It's great for the kid because they lock in a spot. The school's bound to them, but they aren't bound to us, if that makes sense. So it's fluid, and we're going to continue to talk through it, and I think we'll have a better idea once we get through the bowl game on what a couple of our own guys are thinking, and that's going to again kind of affect where we're going on certain spots.
Tyler, I did ask Kirk the same thing, but how difficult has it been for you guys as a recruiting staff to vent out all the players in the transfer portal that you're potentially looking at? Because I know, like you mentioned, you like doing your homework, you like finding the right fits, but it's so accelerated right now with everything going on.
It is. It certainly is, and that's one football, college football, NFL. It's a very small world, right? So most of the time, whether it's myself, somebody on our coaching staff, and we're going to have a connection to that staff, and we're typically going to start there. We're going to call them right away and just say, what do you really think of the kid? Why is he leaving? Is there any baggage? Would you recommend him? And then some of them, too, are guys that we recruited out of high school, which, that provides an extra level of comfort because we can go right back to the high school coach who typically they end up having a pretty good relationship with the kid even when he goes to college. But that is the scary part. We had a couple of our guys transfer other places, and the schools they went to never called us, which, hey, good for them. But I would be a little worried that you don't even reach out just to gauge anything, but that's not how we're going to operate. We're going to try and dig as much as possible, but it's this day and age. I mean, the transfer portal and the window being open, there's so much coverage. So when names pop up, I mean, I've got a board of just guys on my desk, and I'm constantly texting coaches, this guy hit the portal. See if you know anybody we can reach out. I'll try and hit up the kid. I'll try and hit up the high school coach. It's just constantly going. I don't know how I feel about the window per se. I actually think the window has made this worse. Honestly, I kind of liked the rules last year just because it wasn't so chaotic and crazy those first few days out. But it's where we're at, and we'll adapt and adjust to it. But it is tough. It's a challenge, and I don't know if there's a perfect answer to how you're supposed to attack it this way, other than we just know we've got to dig as much as possible to understand, if we're getting engaged or getting married with this guy, we got to know what we're inheriting, and is he going to be good in our locker room? Is he going to be good with our players? Because that's still a big part of it too. When these guys come on campus, we still take a lot of input from our current team on, hey, what do you think? Is he going to fit with us or is he not? And if they tell us he doesn't, then we'll move on.
You signed a running back from Wiley, Texas, which is kind of interesting. But it was kind of a whirlwind, if you want to call it that. I mean, he gets here late Saturday night, and after decommitting from Purdue, what happened with that recruitment? What do you think of Terrell?
So Terrell's his whole process is actually really interesting. So he was going to Purdue, right, and Coach Braun takes the Louisville job, and his parents, he's a mid-year enrollee, so he'll be here in January. But his parents had scheduled a cruise as a kind of a parting gift before he went to college. So he was actually on a cruise for 7 days in the prime time for him to go visit schools. And we had talked back and forth. Like I initially said, hey, Liddell, you just need to go down and see him and his family on Saturday night when they get back from the cruise. It's just going to be really tough for them to get up here and turn around that quick. And we ultimately settled in on bringing him in. And this poor kid and his family, they sat on the airplane. They were supposed to arrive at 11:07 p.m. on Saturday night. They actually landed at like 3:42 a.m., sat on the runway for about 5.5 hours, and they were awesome sports about it. It didn't ruffle them at all. We kind of moved the schedule back Sunday, and when you only have 12 hours to have an official visit, it's already really condensed and tight. So I was trying to give them a couple extra hours of sleep, but they were awesome. And we knew the coach down there really well. We had a prior relationship. They obviously brought up Eno and just compared their games basically. But he's a pretty quiet kid. But when you see him. The thing I like the most when we get kids up here is we go to the photo shoot in Kinnick Stadium, right? Because then you really get to see body types on kids. And I know that may sound weird, but it's true. You get to see what they really look like because they come in with big jackets and hoodies on. Like you can't really see everything. And our biggest thing was just, hey, how big is he actually? And when he gets here, you still don't see it. But once he puts on the jersey, I texted Liddell immediately. I was like, this kid's going to be all right. Like, I think we're fine. But Dad's a really good human being. Played D-end actually at Illinois. Went to the same high school as Christian Kirksey and Don Schumpert, so Hazelwood Central. So there was a little bit of connection there. Played against Liddell, so they kind of had an instant connection. And the mom's a really sharp lady too. And just the way they handled the visit, coming off a 7-day cruise, driving 5 hours to get back home, go to the airport to sit there forever, and getting in here late, that can start the visit on a really sour note. And they were great about the whole thing. And it was a good visit overall, and we're excited about him. He's really versatile. Obviously, you see him do a lot of different things. He played high school quarterback his sophomore year. Played quarterback, running back his junior year. This year was split out between playing in the slot and then playing running back. Really good hands. He's got some versatility to him that we thought would be a good addition to the room.
Probably never had a world champion wrestler in your football recruiting class before. But
had some good ones, but not that.
Yeah, right. And I'm sure you have to deal with Tom Brands on this topic too. So what are the plans kind of with Ben Keeter? I know he's probably going heavyweight, so that probably helps.
Yeah, we have a great relationship with wrestling. And you could probably imagine how the conversation went when we initially told him, like, hey, how are we going to work this out? And Brandon just told us, just get it done. So we're like, all right, easy enough. We'll talk later. We haven't gone through the specifics yet, and we're going through right now with Brody Brecht and baseball. So we have some familiarity with it. It's going to be probably a little bit different in wrestling, but there's such a good relationship, we'll figure it out. And I'm assuming he's going to wrestle heavyweight. We haven't really discussed that. That would just be my assumption, obviously. But he's a kid he's got such a big frame where I think he's going to naturally add some weight pretty quick. But we're not going to do anything to hurt him or put it on too quick. We'll just kind of see where his body goes. But talking about a determined kid and just determined kid and how he operates and what he does, it's on a whole different level. And talking with the Brands, it was funny because we're just like, how is this really going to work once he gets on campus? And it was Coach Brands was like, if there's one kid that can make both these sports work, I'm not going to bet against Ben. And we kind of agree with him because when you meet Ben and talk to him, this he's a beast. He's a complete animal. I don't know how he does it, but he just keeps rolling. So it'll be good to get Ben here, and we're excited, and we'll see where it goes.
Does it pose a challenge when in June you think you're getting a 5-star offensive lineman and then right before signing day you find out that you don't have that?
I know we have the 24-hour rule after losses and losing recruits, and yeah, it stinks. It stinks. But at the end of the day, it's like Coach said, it's got to be his choice and what's best for him and his family. And we wish him well. I shot Caden and his parents the same text, just hey, best of luck down there. We've got you. I actually said ignore all the noise on social media. Just look at my mentions if you want to laugh on some stuff too, because I get the same thing. But just don't worry about that. You guys got to do what's best for you. And honestly, in this day and age in the transfer portal, who knows what the future holds? So we're wishing him well. But again, it's not about the one guy we didn't get. It's about the 23 guys we signed today. Yeah.
Quarterback you're bringing in, obviously two quarterbacks, but
Yep.
on Marco, seems like you guys are really high on him, as you might imagine, but what do you like about him? It seems like he's a different type of quarterback than you've recruited before.
Yeah, Marco's a really good athlete. He's got a really sturdy build, almost looks like a linebacker. He's a great kid from a really, really good family. He's got those innate leadership abilities. Guys like being around him, and that's what you want in a quarterback. Spencer's the same way. You want a guy that can come in and command the huddle, command the team, wants guys to, follow him into a burning fire, and that's who Marco is. He's an ultimate competitor. Obviously, has played really good football the last 3 years out there, and his stats back that up. And it'll be good. It'll be good to get him here. Wish we could get him here in January. Unfortunately, his academic schedule at his school didn't allow that, but he'll be fine once he gets here in June. And there's not enough good you can say about Marco and just his family. I mean, his parents are unbelievable, and that. When we recruit guys, you like seeing that whole makeup. That makes you feel good about everything.
What do you like about Tegan Davis?
That's a good question. Tegan camped here last summer. Didn't know a ton about him. Actually, Matt Bowen and Sean Considine had passed along his name like week 3, week 4 of the football season. Had popped on the film, small school football, multi-sport athlete background. Had kind of had him on the list, but not really. But then we got Seth Wallace actually got 2 more extremely demanding texts from Sean Considine and Matt Bowen after the season. And Matt Bowen's team played against them in the playoffs. And I think Tegan's team was up 21-3 or 21-7 at halftime. Unfortunately lost the game. But when you have 2 guys like that who they know everything about Iowa football, right? Those are 2 guys that earned their right here, played a long time in the NFL. One guy lives in small town Illinois, understands the guys that are going to be successful here. So going back and just popping on his film again, just kind of just laughing a little bit. I think Seth sent me the text from Bowen and Considine at like 10:30 or 10:45 p.m. on last Thursday or Friday. I'm sorry, the days are completely blending together at this point. And then watching his football film, then you see his basketball film, you see his high jump numbers, his long jump numbers. So, I mean, some of that's a recipe for guys that have come here and been really successful. So we actually, Seth and I agreed, nobody follow him on Twitter. Let's hit up the kid and get him over here on Sunday. Because we actually lost a DB last year. We were interested into Illinois, Matthew Bailey out of Moline. So we didn't want Brett to see that on Twitter because they would have probably tried to get him down to Illinois too. So we covertly got him over here Sunday. And just a really good kid, a high-energy kid. He's got 2 brothers that play at Northern Michigan, actually for one of our former GAs, Dylan Chimura. And a guy that, I think he might have committed before we actually offered him. It was kind of like the Jay Higgins deal. Like, Coach, I'm coming. Well, you sure we're offering you? But no. Just the versatility he has is you've seen it in a lot of different guys we've had here in that secondary. And I would say that about our entire secondary class. I think Zach Lutmer's probably, definitely a safety for us. But I think those other 3 guys, they have some versatility to them that, I'm not going to compare anybody to Cooper DeJean because that's completely unfair. But, they've got some versatility where they could probably play outside, probably play inside. And Coach Parker, we get guys here and we let him go to work and he'll figure that out. But I think that the other three guys, you like that versatility they offer in Khalil Tate, John Nestor, and Tegan Davis for sure.
When I saw Terrio Thompson's name come up, I'm like, okay, well, who is he again? And I went back to Buke Hempstead. I didn't see anything. How did he jump out at you? And you see number 54, you see Iowa Western, you see his body
He's
type.
got a big personality like Davion too.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of scary talking to him, looking at him in the jersey over there. It's like, holy moly, is this Davion or Ontario? So Ontario, unfortunately, he was a product of the COVID year. Coming out of the COVID year, didn't have a whole lot going on, kind of got lost in translation. Went to Iowa Western redshirted last year, and their coaches were talking about him in practice, raving about him. So we actually had him at camp here this summer. At the time, we didn't really have a true need inside, so we kind of just kept him on the back burner. But Coach Bell did a great job with that relationship the whole way through, and he wanted to be here more than anywhere else. He was waiting on us. I told KB told me that, and I was like, yeah, whatever, we're going to offer him. Then he's going to take visits, and sure enough, we offered him, and 3 days later he commits. But he's a great kid. He's 280, I think he was 287 pounds this weekend. He looks like he's 250, so you like that when you're bigger than what you look like. Big smile, high energy. And he wanted to be here, and that's the biggest thing. We can't overstate how important that is. Guys that want to be Hawkeyes usually come here and have a chance to be pretty good, and he was all about it. So it'll be good to get him. He'll be here in January as well. We'll get him in the D-line room and rolling, and I think he'll be an asset for us here in the future.
Dayton Howard is a guy who really went under the radar. I don't think had any offers until you guys offered him. But you look at his senior year, you look at his film, it pops off the page. So I guess how did he pop up on the radar and kind of give us a little bit of your perspective of the recruitment and then obviously his game?
For sure. So he actually was he was a football player, baseball player from a small town, Savannah, Missouri. Don't know if anybody's heard of that. I had not prior to Dayton. So he was there for 3 years. His dad played baseball at Kansas, and the parents are divorced, but he ended up moving with his dad into the Kansas City area. Went to a bigger school. And what's interesting is I had actually got an email from 2 season ticket holders about 2 other guys on that football team. One was a quarterback that now is going to Michigan, Ronnie Bell's brother, and another was a linebacker there as a potential walk-on. And the high school coach there, who we've had some familiarity with, he was actually Graham Mertz's high school coach, so we had a relationship there. It basically said I wasn't going to start hitting up high school coaches until we finished our season, and I understood what this kid was about for an entire year. So he had reached out to Coach Copeland, and Coach Copeland passed it along. And I think I watched like 10 clips, and I was like, Cope, what are we doing? Like, get this guy up here this weekend. Like, this guy's really good. And what's amazing, you see Dayton, I mean, he's bigger than advertised. He's all of 6'4 plus, extremely long arms. You like that he comes from an athletic background. 1 year production, I'm still shocked he didn't have more offers, like completely shocked. I don't know what Kansas and K-State are doing. I hope we prove them wrong. But another kid that just, he was supposed to go to Kansas after we offered him that weekend. And in his mind, he was like, everybody's been late to me. You guys are my first offer. I'm going to roll with you guys, and I'm going to try and prove these in-state schools wrong. So we like that. But I agree with you. He's long. He can run. He's got great ball skills. He can jump out of the gym. I think there's a lot to like there. And he's 190 pounds. Which for a high school kid, 6'4", 190, that's a pretty good start right there.
Got quite the duo of offensive linemen from Indiana. What stood out to you about Locke and Jones?
So we were on Trevor probably earlier than Leighton, even though we were talking to both guys about the same amount of time. They're both different. Obviously, Trevor can play outside. Leighton's going to be an interior guy, but Leighton's wrestling background, had camped here before. Had been here a ton. I think he had probably come. Marshall Jones, his dad, could tell it maybe 5 or 6 times before we officially offered him. And not to get off on a tangent with other guys, but Leighton, kind of like Aiden Hall and Zach Lutmer, there's a certain guys, it's like, we can wait and try and take these guys later in the process, or if we know we're going to take a full class of 25, like, why are we waiting? Let's just offer these guys. Let's get them in the boat. They're our type of guys, right? Especially Leighton, who loves Iowa, loves wrestling. He's tough as shit, obviously. And he's got a chip on his shoulder, and then we offered him, he committed, and he still had some schools come after him. And Trevor's a little bit different. Trevor is probably a little bit more highly sought of, and he had some bigger schools coming after him. And I think Coach Barnett just did an unbelievable job relationship-wise with Trevor and his family. And he's a good kid, and, we were trying to sell him on our tradition, our history. And he's a great fit here. He fits in with our guys. He fits in the locker room. So that was a good win to get after that big official visit weekend in June. But both guys we're certainly excited about.
Alex Moda. Stuck around for a long time. Probably can play multiple positions, but sure. You
Yeah.
guys have him as a wide receiver.
Yep. So we initially we had Moda camp here 2 years ago as a DB. It helps that one of his aunts is a diehard Iowa fan and season ticket holder here. I don't know if she was going to let him go anywhere else. Honestly, maybe I don't know. You'd have to ask Alex that. But again, the process where we wanted him as a corner, and then he preferred to play offense, and obviously we needed receivers too, and we just thought he was a really good athlete, a really good kid, has a ton of familiarity with our program, obviously, very versatile. So it'll be good to get him here. We're excited about Alex. I think he's a guy that could realistically probably play inside or outside. We'll see. And he's going to get bigger. He's going to get a little bit thicker once he gets here and gets in the weight room with Ray and gets into our nutrition stuff. But he's a kid, again, I think from the very get-go he wanted to be an Iowa Hawkeye. I could be wrong on that. But, again, that's really important to us, and we're excited about him. And I know there were some teams making some late pushes for him, but glad he stuck it through. And, again, we'll get him rolling here in June.
Who are your early enrollees? Do you know?
So early enrollees, so obviously Cade McNamara, Eric All, Ontario Thompson, and then Terrell Washington will be the 4 for sure, and then TBD on. We'll see how the next 3 weeks goes here on some others. Yeah.
As you finalize this class, what do you consider the top positional needs?
As we finalize class, so we're still looking for a corner, whether it's high school or transfer portal. We think we need some help out there. We're going to look hard at a tackle and see if we can find some help outside there. And then from there, obviously receiver still, and those are probably the 3 main spots. And then, in true classic Coach Ferentz fashion, we're always going to keep a best available and just see, there's going to be guys that pop up. We had Cohen Intringer in the late period last year who went from having nothing to us, Michigan, and Notre Dame. So there's going to be guys out there. Our job is just to make sure we keep our eyes open. And if we find a guy that can help our team, if it's not at a position of need, we'll end up taking him most likely. Yeah.